All right, let's get moving. The first item on our agenda is a public hearing. This public hearing held by the Louisville Metro Air Pollution Control Board is called to order and is being held pursuant to KRS Chapter 77 and district regulations. Notice of this hearing has been published pursuant to state law. This public hearing is being held via video teleconference. Instructions on making written and oral statements via video teleconference have been distributed. Oral statements must be presented today and they should be concise. All statements will become part of the hearing record. There are 2 agreed board orders to be reviewed today. Would the staff please present the first agreed board order with Elkhart American Corporation, Mr. Gavette.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. The district brings for the board's consideration an agreement with Elkhart America Corporation, which operates a facility making aluminum powdered paste in the Rubbertown area of Louisville. The plant is subject to a district-issued Title V operating permit and the Strategic Toxic Air Reduction, or STAR program. The district alleges that Elkhart failed to record daily pressure drop readings over a certain number of days in 2022 and 2023. In 2022 and 2023, Elkhart reported in their semi-annual reports that they had missed some daily record keeping. The district reviewed these reports and met with the company in fall of 2023 to discuss these missing records. In March of 2024, Elkhart reported missing an increasing number of these daily records. Upon receipt of the notice of violation issued for its failure to maintain its records properly, Elkhart retrained employees responsible for recording pressure drop readings. Elkhart is also making plans to automate the recording of these readings. This will eliminate the need for staff to record these readings daily. Elkhart will submit a feasibility report later this year as final details are decided, but the company has already indicated they intend on implementing the project later this year or early next year. If they determine the project is not feasible, the district will require them to implement a strategy to continue to record the readings manually, regardless of staffing issues. 1 public comment was received by the district during the written comment period. The comment and the district's response have been provided to the board before today's hearing for consideration by board members and are available on our website. The company has agreed to pay a penalty of $6,000 to resolve this notice of violation. The district recommends the board adopt the order as proposed.
Thank you. Ms. Thorne, is that a representative of Elkhart American Corporation registered to make a comment this morning?
They have not.
Thank you. Is any member of the public registered to make an oral statement today?
They have not.
Has any member of the public submitted a written statement other than what Mr. Gavette had mentioned? No. Thank you. Anybody in the Edison room this morning wish to make a comment? If so, please step to the podium, give us your name and who you represent, if anybody, and yourself. See none? Thank you. Are there any members of the public that wish to make a brief comment on this video teleconference? If so, please raise your hand via video teleconference. You will be called on. This is a feature you can find on the participants list or by pressing *3. If joining by phone, you will be called upon. Ms. Thorne?
I see no raised hands.
Thank you much. Any questions by board members?
I've got one.
Have at it.
I'm kind of wondering if we're talking about a computer automation here to eliminate manual record keeping, why it takes so long to get done.
So I'm only partially qualified to answer that. I'd rather the company do that. They are preparing this feasibility report that they're submitting in a couple months to outline what the complications have been, but they have intended that they're going to do that. This factory's fairly old, and I'm unsure when they've upgraded some of their PLC controls.
Okay, thank you.
Any other members of the board have a question? Okay, moving on then. Would the staff present the second agreed board order with the Louisville and Jefferson County Metropolitan Sewer District, Mr. Gavette?
I'm going to defer to Director Hamilton today.
Okay.
She's going to give a short presentation about
Director
it.
Hamilton.
Thank you. I did ask Steve to allow me to present this to the board this morning. This has been a large part of the district's work since our reorganization to address the issues related to sewer odors, particularly in Louisville, west at 9th Street towards the river. So Where we're at today, Andy is pulling up my presentation. Well, as Andy is doing that, we'll go ahead and get started a bit. The proposed second amendment to the existing agreed board order is intended to resolve past odor violations by MSD. As proposed, these violations occurred in summer of 2019. We believe that this proposed agreed board order will provide a framework for the Metropolitan Sewer District to implement the odor control master plan that the board required to be developed under its February 2021 agreed board order, as well as undertake additional capital work to reduce odors from the combined stormwater sewer system and the Morris Foreman Water Quality Treatment Center. MSD's board and their executive director have already approved this proposed agreement. And now it is this board's turn to consider it. Next slide, please, Andy. Just a general roadmap, going to give you a little bit of background. We're going to talk somewhat about the projects that are contemplated under the agreed board order, the process by which MSD will be demonstrating its progress, and then how that progress will be shared with the public. Next slide, please. So in 2020, the district alleged that MSD failed to control objectionable odors from catch basins in the Morris Foreman Water Quality Treatment Plant due to complaints that we received from neighborhoods around that facility. February 2021, the district and MSD agreed to an initial agreed board order that required MSD to undertake certain projects to characterize the odors and to develop and implement, among other things, countywide odor control master plan with priority and focus in phase 1 on the Morris Foreman service area and the collection system between 9th Street and the Ohio River, an odor event outreach communications plan, collection system maintenance service schedule, and a publicly available complaint and MSD response log for all odor complaints. Next slide, please. Importantly, while MSD has developed the phase 1 odor control master plan, the proposed second agreed board order is intended to provide a transparent public framework for MSD as it implements the odor control master plan and takes other steps to mitigate odors in the affected area. The proposed second amended agreed board order does not limit the district's authority to enforce future violations of our air quality regulations. Next slide, please. So MSD, like the Air Pollution Control District, is a separate body corporate and politic organized under the Kentucky Revised Statutes. Unlike the district, however, their board is responsible for making sure that MSD is funded and undertakes the work necessary to do the important public work they do. They're responsible for managing wastewater, stormwater, floodwaters to protect public health and safety. Metro Council also shares a responsibility in that if rate increases for MSD go above a certain level, Metro Council is required to weigh in and approve that additional funding. The Morris Foreman Water Quality Treatment Center is one of the Commonwealth's oldest and largest, although I learned last night there may be some debate over whether or not it is the oldest. It's intended to treat 120 million gallons a day during normal flow and up to 350 million gallons during wet weather. MSD is subject to a consent decree with US EPA to resolve wet weather discharges, and that does impact some of the work that we'll be talking about today. In the Morris Foreman Water Quality Treatment Center service area, there are 1,900 miles of combined stormwater wastewater sewer. Some of those sewers date back to the 19th century, and many of the catch basins in the area are untrapped or in need of repair. From the district's perspective, the place that we find ourselves in today result from MSD having inherited aged infrastructure, federal water conservation mandates such as low flow showers, dishwashers, toilets, and so on, loss of high water using industries, and changes in flow that the combined system receives due to heavier but less frequent rainfall events. In short, MSD's system is designed to flush. Just like at home, your toilet won't flush, things build up. And that's when we see in that summertime to late fall period, when our weather is hotter and drier, a buildup of odors. Your system simply isn't built for the conditions that exist today. Next slide, please. As a result, the second amended agreed board order is intended to put in place document projects that MSD has identified as necessary to begin to mitigate the pervasive odor issues. And that includes, next slide, Andy. The work and studies contemplated under the Phase 1 Odor Control Master Plan, repair, replacement, and other work on catch basins. Catch basins are much like the P-trap or S-trap underneath your sink that holds water so that odors don't enter your home from the sewer system. Catch basins in the street serve a similar function, and MSD has identified that there are several thousand that will need to be repaired or replaced. Under their consent decree with US EPA, they're completing a $255 million thermal hydrolysis project at Morris Foreman. They're undertaking an odor control study at the Southwestern Pump Station and Bells Lane. And they're also working on completing those future phases, the countywide odor control master plan, because we do see concerns about odors from other parts of MSD's system, not just west of 9th Street. Next slide, please. With respect to the process that's laid out in this agreed board order, MSD will prepare 3 action plans. They'll regularly update its board on the plan development, implementation, and budget. Action plans will be part of MSD's statutory capital budget planning, which is subject to their board's approval. Each plan will include the project's scope, estimated capital costs, and the estimated start and end date. On completion, MSD will complete a capital project certification and submit a copy to its board at their next board meeting. Now, action plans will include, next slide, please, Andy. One more, apologize. The action plans may include projects related to treatment, the collection system, pump stations, and catch basins. These are really the infrastructure that's in the field where odors may come from. Within 30 days of the entry of the agreed board order, MSD will submit a short-term action plan that will cover fiscal years 25 to 26. By August 1st of next year, they'll have a medium-term action plan for things that will take place between 27 and 28. And by August 1st of 2028, they'll submit a long-term plan covering fiscal years 2029 and 2030. This is a really important 5-year period. This corresponds to MSD's approved 5-year capital plan. So their board has green lighted the projects that are contemplated here. Next slide, please. The last step of any good project is how we'll measure progress or see progress. So, next slide, Andy. Notice of a proposed action plan would be made by MSD by posting to its website and by letter to mayor and Metro Council members. The public will be given at least 30 days to comment, including on any revision to a final action plan. MSD will be required to conduct appropriate public outreach. MSD will also consider those comments in finalizing an action plan and provide a response to comments that it's received. Once MSD believes that it's fully completed an action plan, they'll submit their required documentation to their board and a letter stating that it believes it's completed everything needed on that project. If their board disagrees, the MSD board disagrees, MSD will need to submit a corrective action plan. And once approved, MSD will notify the mayor, Metro Council, and APCD. One of the common reporting requirements with this agreed board order that you'll see is that this isn't just reporting to APCD. This is reporting to MSD, MSD's own board, Metro Council members, and the mayor. And that's because this is a shared public resource and it's a shared public responsibility. We all need to be sure that we understand how this work is progressing, to be sure that it's progressing in a way that meets the needs of the community. And second, that it's adequately funded. By March 31st of 2025, MSD will prepare a mid-year status report. These semi-annual reports will summarize the first 6 months of the fiscal year, include project detailed descriptions, and include anticipated projects to be performed during the next 6-month period and made publicly available. They'll also be sent to the mayor and Metro Council members, as well as the Air Pollution Control Board and the district. By September 2025, MSD will prepare its first annual report in each September thereafter. It'll include a summary of what's happened in the past year, include records showing action plan implementation, community engagement efforts, projects with a 6-month delay, projects deemed infeasible, odor reports and wastewater flow data, and be posted to MSD's website and shared with that group of recipients that I mentioned. For APCB, we're going to be using flow to Morris Corman and odor reports as our way of tracking MSD's progress. We want to be sure that if we see a reduction in odor reports, we understand that it's not simply due to weather. We're all very pleased with the rainfall we've had this year, but we know it may not last this year and it may not be repeated next year. So if we see high complaints and low flow to MSD, we know we're going to be tracking odors related to the way the systems currently function. If we have low flow and low reports, then MSD's infrastructure investments are paying off as anticipated. MSD is going to be maintaining a website dedicated to informing the public about the odors, project schedules. From there, you're going to be able to find copies of the action plans, responses to comments, customer odor complaint logs, the annual and mid-year reports. MSD will share information about any necessary proposed rate increases there as well, so the public can be aware that this is going to be a costly and also a lengthy process. It's our understanding that MSD will also have a dashboard there where their capital projects, expenditures, and progress can be tracked. Next slide. And just as in the initial agreed board order, the second amended agreed board order requires MSD to continue holding 5 community meetings. I believe the next community meeting will be held on August the 27th at 6 p.m. at the Shawnee Library. Those are intended to be virtual and in person to help the public stay informed about their work. There are different needs. We understand that having things available on a computer doesn't meet everyone's needs. And we're trying to cover that gap as well. They'll continue to provide Metro Council members with written monthly updates regarding odor-related projects in their districts. And within 45 days of entry of the agreed board order, MSD will prepare an odor response standard operating procedure, which they'll post to their website, that will talk about their short-term efforts and how they do that work in order to respond to the public's complaints, since there are efforts such as cleaning catch basins, deodorizing catch basins that can be taken in the interim to further reduce odors. The district received 6 comments on the proposed amended agreed board order. We've shared those with the board as well as the district's response to comments. The interim response to comment was posted to our website yesterday. Full responses, since we received some late yesterday and early this morning, are outside of the room here. We've shared those with MSD and invited them to provide written responses if they'd like as well.
But they're not to do something.
They're not. Absolutely. And I believe with that, Andy, that's my last slide.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Thorne is the representative of MSD registered to make a statement this morning.
It's my understanding, Chairman Sullivan, that MSD will not be making a statement.
Is any member of the public registered to make an oral statement this morning?
Yes, Byron Gary with the Kentucky Resource Council is here on behalf of the council and REACT.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me this morning. I am here both on behalf of KRC and REACT. I submitted written comments yesterday just before 5 p.m. for KRC. Apologize for the late comments. REACT was unable to get theirs in on time, and Ms. Ebony Cochran wasn't able to make it this morning, so I volunteered to try to get through some of her comments. I believe there may be somebody else online if I don't finish in my 3-minute window to finish off. On behalf of REACT, I am reading concerning the agreed board order with the Metropolitan Sewer District, MSD. This comment is related to notice of violation ENF ABCD 19-00025. Upon reading the notice of violation in the agreed board order number 2101 Amendment 2, we were left with a number of questions. In addition to considering this comment, we would like for ABCD and MSD to answer the questions listed within this letter. The development of a master plan. The master plan must be amended to include the reduction of odors through prevention. Identifying all of the facilities which MSD permits dumping into the sewer system is an area in which there needs to be focus. Heaven Hill is an example of one of those facilities. There needs to be a Heaven Hill odor study. Our understanding is that Heaven Hill is allowed to dump into the sewer. The substance they dump creates a distinct odor. We believe, apologize, my eyes are not what they used to be. We believe some of the odors people smell in their various neighborhoods could be attributable to Heaven Hill contacts. Thank you, though. Some of our questions include, what substance is allowed to be dumped into the sewer? Is there a certain frequency that the substance is dumped? What is the schedule, day and time for dumping? Comment 2, the master plan must be amended to include a method for differentiating sewer odors from odors caused by releases from various industries, including those industries that make up Rubbertown. For decades, residents living near Rubbertown chemical facilities have been subjected to noxious odors. APCD and city officials have acknowledged over the years that many of those odors were attributable to industry. For many years now, the messaging has been geared toward blaming the sewer system for all of the odors. This messaging has been and still is misleading. This messaging is also dangerous. It leaves those in the path of Rubbertown emissions potentially subjected to longer exposure to hazardous and toxic chemicals. Because APCD and MSD have blamed the sewer system and lack of rain for odors, there have potentially been missed opportunities to identify dangerous emissions that could have been stopped. They have potentially missed opportunities to remedy issues with facilities that could have reduced our exposure to toxic air emissions. We have been told that MSD differentiates the odors based on whether or not the person who files the complaints says it is a sewer odor. That is not enough. Community members may not be able to differentiate between sewer odors and odors coming from Rubbertown just by smell. The master plan must include various ways of monitoring in real time for volatile organic compounds, VOCs. Monitoring would need to happen in more than just one neighborhood. An odor events outreach communication plan. The ADO refers to an updated brochure that mentions odor issues. The brochure only mentions naturally occurring odors. This is problematic in that many of the neighborhoods that experience naturally occurring odors are adjacent to Rubbertown. This means that some of the odors residents smell are odors attributable to chemical releases. The brochure should stress the importance of reporting as a way to identify those chemical odors early as a way to reduce exposure to potentially hazardous substances. Reporting odors could also help in identifying meth houses, which are also hazardous. Leaving residents to believe that the only odors they smell are naturally occurring could potentially lessen the sense of urgency they have when it comes to reporting. Sorry, I don't have a timer going, so I'm not sure how I'm doing.
You're a little longer.
MSD should have a binder at the main library and each of the branches. The binder should include information about reporting odors and any other pertinent information MSD would like to relay to the community. The binder would be updated periodically as updates are needed. Some of our questions include, is the feedback from residents available to the public? And were there any actions taken based on the feedback from residents? And I'll stop there as much because my eyes are giving out as for time purposes. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Any other members of the public have registered to make a comment?
Yes, we have one more registered online, Madison Johnson with React.
Hi, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to continue with the last two comments on behalf of React as well. Lastly, well, the last two, a collection system maintenance / service schedule. Some of our questions include, on what dates and in what locations did sewer flushes occur in 2024? Have there been any instances in which odor complaints have been called in and MSD responded by flushing the sewer near where the odor was reported? In Old Louisville, maybe? If so, what determines which odor complaint is responded to in this manner? What is the schedule for sewer flushes for the rest of the year, date and location? Also, a publicly available complaint and MSD response log for all odor complaints. The odor complaint log needs to include the time MSD arrived at the location to investigate. Many times with APCD, if they come out at all, they arrive too late to detect an odor. We need to know that there will be a rapid response. Our understanding is that odor complaints filed with APCD and odor complaints filed with MSD are not in the same database. If so, this means there is no master list for odor complaints in the city. This makes it easier for patterns of odors to be missed and also for odors to be underreported by the regulatory agency. There must be one database for the city of Louisville that includes odor complaints to any and all agencies, including 311. Our hope is that each one of these issues will be addressed and each one of the questions will be answered in writing. Thank you. And again, that was on behalf of React and Ebony Neal Cochran as well.
Thank you. Ms. Thorne, any other individuals?
No,
Thank you. Has any member of the public provided a written statement other than those already mentioned?
No, sir.
Anybody in the room wish to make a statement? If so, please approach the podium. What's your name? Seeing none, we'll move on. Are there any members of the public that wish to make a brief statement? I guess we kind of went through this already on the video teleconference. Please raise your hand via video teleconference to be called upon. This is a feature you can find on a participants list or by pressing *3. If joined by phone, you will be called upon.
I see no raised hands.
And no takers. Any questions by board members? I got a couple. You had mentioned, Director Hamilton, about the district's monitoring of the progress by virtue of rainfall events, sewer complaints, and the relationship between the two. Is MSD doing in this agreeable, or they will be responsible for in-field monitoring themselves?
It's my understanding that MSD is conducting monitoring for hydrogen sulfide as part of some of its studies. We just mentioned that last night in this presentation. That is a better question, though, for MSD to answer. I don't know whether they'd like to try to share that now.
As we will outline in our action plans, there are several studies that we'll be looking at, and part of those studies will include some testing and monitoring.
But not ongoing as we speak, or was under the impression it was some.
So the district has installed a hydrogen sulfide analyzer at the Algonquin Parkway Air Monitoring Site,
Okay,
and that is an ambient air monitor. We've also completed a study of the use of some handheld hydrogen sulfide sensors in the field. That work has wrapped up. I believe you shared that with Billy. So that work has wrapped up this summer for the handheld sensors, but we have updated our ambient air monitoring network to include this hydrogen sulfide analyzer. And it runs and takes samples really
Continuously.
continuously.
And to clarify my earlier statement, our testing would be in the sewer, so it would be specific to our system, not in the ambient.
And this is proposed or pending the results of these studies, or?
The part of the study will be to do some of that analysis work so that we can then figure out what are the best actions to take.
Okay, one other question. I appreciate that there's lots of public outreach and meetings in regards to this issue. Does MSD have the hearing process seems like a more formal process than public meetings. Is there a hearing process within MSD that's comparable to these processes? That the public has the opportunity to actually be in front of the board itself. I didn't see.
So my understanding, first, MSD, like this board, holds a regular monthly meeting. Their meeting is typically the fourth Monday of each month. The public is invited to attend at 1 p.m. I think their closed session from noon to 1. At their offices, still at 700, is it Chestnut?
West.
West Liberty, 700 West Liberty, 1 o'clock. So their next meeting will be Monday. And their board considers action items, including personnel, infrastructure, funding, and so on. The rate process, I think if it has to go before Metro Council, would include a public hearing. But in the absence of that event, I don't believe that there's a similar formal event like this.
Okay. Your understanding that's correct? Well,
Yes, well, for the race, there is a public comment period.
but not so much in respect to something like an agreed order and implementation of that. Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Any questions by other board members? All right. Hearing none, this concludes the public hearing portion of our meeting this morning. We're now called a regular meeting of the Louisville Air Pollution Control Board to order. We're conducting the Monday meeting today via video teleconference. We will first have a call to order, determine if we are formed. Conduct a roll call of board members that are present on the teleconference. When I call your name, please say here. Jeffrey Coburn is not here. Candace Shope White.
Here.
Marissa Neal. Charlie Bell. Sajad Jamil. And we actually have a new board member, Charlie. I do not have your last name written down here. I'm sorry. I will call you Charlie B2. Are you here?
Charlie B2 is fine for right now. I'm here and the last name is Bertalan.
Okay.
And it
Thank
gets
you.
pronounced many different ways and butchered many different ways.
And I will sure I'll be on the butchering side of that. Thank you. Do we have a quorum? We do not. Interesting. Okay. All right, moving on. Ms. Hamilton, introductions.
Good morning, everyone. So it is my pleasure to introduce Charlie Bertalan to everyone this morning.
You want to spell it for us so we can butcher it later?
Bertalan. Mr.
Okay.
Bertalan joins us. He has a bachelor's in chemical engineering, a master's in chemical and biochemical engineering, and an extensive and diversified career in research and development, quality assurance, and operations in the food, beverage, alcoholic spirits, and consumer products sector. So Mr. Bertalan also joined us this morning for the policy committee meeting, which he will become a member of, and we are pleased to have him join us.
Thank you and welcome to the board. Looking forward to your involvement and contribution.
Thank you.
I'm also very pleased to introduce 3 new APCD staff members who began their careers with us this past Monday. First, join me in welcoming Lauren Robbins, APCD Regulatory Coordinator, who holds a BS in Media and Communication Studies from Florida State University and her Juris Doctorate from the University of Kentucky J. David Rosenberg College of Law. Ms. Robbins?
Welcome. You want to say a few words? Okay.
Happy to be here.
You don't have to.
Say,
Yeah.
I'm happy to introduce Will Bauman, APCB Data Analyst Coordinator, who holds a bachelor's degree in environmental science from Center College and a master's in environmental economics and policy from Duke University. Mr. Bauman.
Nice to meet you all.
You as well.
And lastly, Blake Clark, APCD Engineer 1, who holds a bachelor's and master's of science in chemical engineering from the University of Louisville Speed School of Engineering. Mr. Clark?
Hi, it's nice to meet everybody.
Well, welcome and thanks for joining us. I'm glad you showed up for week 2 and hope you're here for a long time.
Me too.
I bet you are.
I'm,
Okay, is that it for introductions?
that is.
All right, let's move to public recognitions.
Thank you. And I am very pleased this morning to recognize Dr. Ichu Lin, PE, for his 18 years of service to the district. And in this morning's rush, I may have missed asking Lin to join us in person. But if he is here, he is online virtually. So Dr. Lin, thank you very much for your service. We're great.
Is he with us this morning? You see him up there?
Andy, is Dr. Lin online?
He is not.
He's not.
We'll pass along our thanks for being trooper. 18 years.
I will, definitely. Speaking of troopers, I also want to recognize this morning APCD Compliance Officer Lindsay Anderson. Our compliance officers respond to every complaint the district receives. You investigate those even that go to MSD to be sure we understand what's happening within our areas. It is rare for folks in these positions to hear how much their work impacts the public. But a community member took the time to send their very much appreciation for Lindsay's work in addressing an open burning issue in the neighborhood. I believe our compliance officers have one of the most challenging jobs in the agency. They're often going out and they are dealing with folks who are mad at somebody else. They're the first face that's shown up. So I know their work often goes unthanked and just want to take this opportunity to thank Lindsay, recognize how much the writers' efforts have meant to her and her APCD compliance officer colleagues. Thank you.
Congratulations and thanks for the good work.
And that's my recognitions.
Okay. Minutes. So the minutes of the policy meeting and the regular meeting held on July 17th, 2024 were distributed electronically for review. Are there any changes by board members to those meeting minutes? Hearing none, those meeting minutes are for public comment. Has anybody registered Ms. Thorne to make a comment this morning? Besides the one we've already heard.
No.
And no red comments?
No, sir.
Okay. Anybody in the Edison room wish to make a comment? Okay. Any members of the public on the video teleconference that wish to make a comment? So please raise your hand. It's a feature you can find on the participants list or go pressing *3 if joined by phone. And you can be called upon. Ms. Thorne? No?
See no raised hands. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that completes the public comment portion of the meeting. I believe there's no unfinished business. We had 2 agreed board orders, but considering we don't have a quorum, those will be tabled till next month. We'll move on past those 2. In regards to committee reports, the policy committee met on the 17th. Due to lack of quorum, that meeting was rescheduled for this morning, which did take place. With report that Candace White is selected chair of the policy committee moving forward. So thank you, Candace, for your willingness to do that. And now we're at the director's report. Ms. Hamilton.
Well, unfortunately, we are running on a very slim show. This week, we've been decimated by COVID. We've got a number of folks out for medical leave and on vacation. Matt King has been selected for a jury trial.
We did get selected.
He didn't get
We understand that Tony Parrott's on one too, not on a trial. He may be on one.
Yes, so they, it is
But
kind of
then,
amusing that both MSD and APCD are in the same jury pool. Sometimes that's just the way it goes. But I do want to take the time this morning to thank Monica Little, who stepped in Sherry Steiner's absence. Sherry will be back in mid-October. So in the meantime, Monica has taken on those additional duties, and I'm grateful for her assistance. I will be brief today.
Okay.
On August 8th, Jefferson County Attorney Quan Nguyen, APCD Communications Specialist Matt Mudd, and Industrial Permitting Manager and Air Pollution Control Officer Matt King attended American Synthetic Rubber Company's groundbreaking for the conversion of their coal-fired boilers to natural gas. APCD permitted this conversion project several years ago, and we look forward to the reductions in nitrogen oxides, which is a precursor of ozone formation along with volatile organic compounds and particulate matter that will follow when it's completed. I'm specifically mentioning this since ozone continues to be a challenge. Looked over that air monitoring report, you'll see that it is the summertime, and that is when we see ozone formation because it's not directly emitted from stationary sources. Instead, it is when volatile organic compounds combine with nitrogen oxides in sunlight, they form a new pollution called ozone. Because it is a concern, we're currently conducting a FLIR or forward-looking infrared camera review of certain volatile organic compound sources and evaluating the implementation of several federal regulatory programs for further reductions of both VOC and NOx, volatile organic compounds and nitrogen oxides. In the meantime, we look forward to reduce nitrogen oxide emissions from American Synthetic Rubber Company's conversion, shutdown of Mill Creek Unit 1 at the end of this year, and Unit 2, which will follow in the 2027-28 time frame. Are there any questions about?
no. Board members, any questions?
All right, I'm going to just wrap up my MSD presentation, and I want the board to understand this has been a very lengthy and involved process for the district's reorganization. Became a focus of our work to really address those odors, which have historically been felt by community members west of 9th Street. I'm humbled when I read the comments from people who are impacted by these odors about how it impacts their quality of life. When you submit a Smell My City report, or you fill out a WUFO form, or I read our community compliance status report, which track details of concerns as to how folks are impacted by these odors. For that reason, I want to thank the members of the Air Pollution Control Board for hearing those concerns and taking action to compel MSD to address its infrastructure and reduce odors from its operations. Responding to odors from MSD's operations has had an impact on the district. So we, like the public, look forward to MSD and its board taking these actions that they've committed to do and reducing those odors transparently with the public, National Council, the mayor's office, their board, and this board. I'd also like to thank a few people directly. Matt King, when he was the enforcement and compliance manager. Steve Gravett is in that position now. Kyle Zimmerman, the community compliance supervisor. Jefferson County Attorney Quan Nguyen. Lindsay Anderson, Jesse Moberly, Nicholas Rockstroh, and James Bailey are current compliance officers. Melanie Brown, our compliance enforcement coordinator, and our previous staffers, including Byron Barber, Patrick Taganji, Mario Beeler, Steve Oswald, and Tina Oakes. But we've not done this work alone. We've been joined by Councilman Ja'Cory Arthur, Councilwoman Tammy Hawkins, Deputy Mayor Nicole George, Chief of Staff David Kaplan, and Mayor Greenberg. So we're thankful for their assistance. With that, are there any questions?
Not for me. Questions? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
So moving on to the various monthly reports, if you'll know, the ozone numbers are there, which is an issue. Not uncommon necessarily this time of the year. And I'd also note that the PM 2.5 correction factors, as I understand, were approved by EPA. Billy, do you want to say a little bit about that?
Yes, the correction factor has been implemented within the air quality. EPA has updated particulate matter design values, and so based on those correction factors, next month we'll give a little information on that.
Okay, great, thank you. The other reports are pretty typical of the regular monthly reports. Anybody have any questions on the board in regards to those reports? Okay, hearing none. And before I join the meeting, I want to make sure we don't have Jerry doing the policing of the station this morning, so you need to make sure that you've signed in today. So please do so as you exit, if you didn't do it when you entered. With that being said, the next board meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, September 18, 2024 at 10 a.m. Thank you for your attendance. This meeting is adjourned.